Hey guys, welcome back to Sports with Mono and Mono. It's April 4th, 2026. And of course, I'm here with my co host, Elijah Weintraub. And Eli, how was your week?
It was a very busy week. Happy Easter weekend. Happy Passover weekend to those who celebrate those holidays this weekend. We got the Easter
Yep,
graphics ready to go. We have a great show ahead for you this weekend. We have great weather here in New Jersey. So let's just
I
kick it
know.
all up with the monologue sponsored by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York.
Take it away, partner.
All right. Well, this week opens up the NIL transfer portal in college basketball. And here are some things I wanted to discuss and bring up. Well, first off, for men's basketball, the portal opens up on April 7th, and that closes on April 21st. Women's basketball, that opens up on April 6th, that closes on April 20th. But to everybody out there, you're hearing these names being say, all right, he's going to probably enter the portal, this and that. The portal has not opened yet. Nothing is being done. Nothing is confirmed. These are all just rumors and thoughts by the players that they want to say, yes, let's go to the portal, let's go to the portal, but nothing is confirmed. Let's keep that in mind. It does not open up until Monday, Tuesday for the men's and the women's. So even though the names are out there, it's not a done deal yet. They might not even go. They might be false rumors. And even if they go, they still got time to wait. But this portal, though, is really getting out of hand, though, because if we look at where we were without the NIL, without this portal a couple years ago, all right, it was like almost a normal basketball. We had upsets in March Madness like crazy. We had great competitive games and stuff. Now the NCAA is turning into a mess. You have people that are playing this sport that are playing like the NBA players. They don't really give it their all. They don't give it 100% because now they're making all this money. We're not seeing the 100% effort like we once were when the money wasn't fully involved. And not just that, we're all confused about the eligibility. For a couple guys, seeing how we were bringing this up earlier this week, we didn't even know, like, do they even have eligibility left? They don't even know the players themselves when we see them in the interviews and stuff. They were confused at it too. We're
Yeah.
just confused with the eligibility and the money and where it's going. And that's just the
Mhm.
other thing. The money too is out of hand. We gotta take it easy. I personally am one of those people that believe these players should not be paid. They should not be paid to play the game. The goal of college is to learn an education and to also leave college with a job, whether it's in the NBA or in the real world doing something else. That's the bottom line. I just can't stand it with this whole money going out of hand and control, and then we're just not living up to what we're being paid to. It just makes no sense to me. It's out of hand. And this week, as these next 2 weeks come up, it'll be very interesting to see what happens with these players with the transfer portal.
Yeah. Well, listen, you and I have talked in depth about this, and we can't stop this NIL thing, and it really is transforming collegiate sports into basically a professional league, and they're getting paid as if getting a full scholarship to an institution, isn't enough, and now I, I don't know. We've kind of beat this to death, and I agree 100% with you that it's changed the whole dynamic of collegiate sports, both in football and basketball. And you know what? Some of these kids, Eli, they're getting so much money. Some of them are staying in school and skipping the NBA draft and things like that.
It's
So
insane what's
I,
going on.
we're not going to go back. This is never
This is
going to
permanent.
change.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has become permanent, and
Yeah, it's sad.
yeah,
That's just the bottom line.
it
We do have a
is.
couple comments though. We have Eric saying, "Good morning, Jim and Eli. Happy Easter and happy Passover." From Eric, thank you for tuning in as
Thank
always.
you, Eric.
And Bill Hathaway, good morning. Good morning to you. Thank you all for tuning in.
Good
And
morning,
let
William.
the madness begin. Let's enter March Madness and start talking about these games. We have two games today for the men's side, and we have two games to
Yep.
recap on the women's side. So we'll begin with the women's first. Last night, South Carolina took down UConn. I couldn't believe that. 62 to 48. Unbelievable the numbers last night. I mean, the dominance from South
It
Carolina,
was.
incredible. UCLA over Texas, unbelievable. And now the championship is set for Sunday at 3:30 on ABC. It's South Carolina and UCLA. But what took away from the game and the excitement with South Carolina was that fight by Coach Gino and UConn last night. UConn's coach Gino Coriano and Dawn Staley got at it with less than 3 seconds into the game, into the end of the game. They both coaches did not address what happened. They kept it privately, but you got to say to yourself, what happened last night? Why was Gino out of hand? And shout out to Dawn Staley for keeping it cool for the most part, and even in the post game interview, kept it cool for the most part. I really love Dawn Staley as head coach. Just want to point that out real quick.
Yeah, I'm not saying she's not good, but I know what happened. And when I heard the discussion this morning, Gino Oriama, he's been in 24 Final Fours, won national championships, and there is a tradition where the head coaches meet at half court and wish each other luck. And he went there, stood there for 3 minutes, and she did not come over. So, I'm not taking sides in this, but if that's the tradition, and especially at these high level schools, I don't understand. I understand that Gino
But can we
was
confirm that though?
criticizing
Do we
you.
even know that there was no interaction at all though in the beginning? Like that's the thing. Like when the cameras are off,
Well, yeah,
like
we actually know that. We saw video footage of Gino Oriama standing at half court waiting for Dawn Staley to come over and wish them luck. And if that's a tradition and she didn't do it, so I don't know why she didn't do it. And then, it started to take a different path with Gino, because the refs were all the calls were going in favor of South Carolina. So maybe that's a little bit of sour grapes. But if that is the tradition, and these two know each other very well. I mean, they face each other all the
all
time.
the time.
But anyway, it kind of did overshadow the fact that
South Carolina dominated the
UConn,
game.
they did
And that's just the bottom line.
100%. And yeah, and by the way, UCLA has made their first women's NCAA final, which to me sounds a little crazy. I would
I
have
know.
thought they had been there
The other way
before, but
around. Yeah.
so that's going to be a good match.
Yeah.
But I don't see South Carolina getting beat, especially when
Yeah,
they took
no.
care of
If they took
UConn
care
that
of
way.
UConn like that, yeah, South Carolina is definitely the winner. Bill Hathaway's calling. I'm going to bring him on now. Good morning, Bill. How you doing?
Good morning, for guys. Happy Easter. What's up,
Happy
Jim?
Easter.
How's it going, man?
You too, Bill.
I'm doing all right.
Good, Bill.
We
How
we
are you,
saw.
buddy?
I'm doing all right. I got an opportunity to watch that game in between of our show. College basketball is a strange game. Okay, UConn and South Carolina are always in the big ones, Final Four or
Yep.
NCAA. But I want to just take it back where in the beginning of the game or in the middle of it in the second half, South Carolina just dominated UConn off the boards. They were just doing what they had to do. UConn, great season, 38-0. They Dawn Staley, both Gino and Dawn are great coaches. But you know what? You got to understand this. It's a game. It's made up for a book story. There's a lot of drama in college basketball. So last night, after this game that took place, like you said, Jim, it's a tradition of a meeting at the line. It took, I don't know why, Dawn Staley took about 5 minutes to get over to him and shake his hand. Good luck. But after the game, social media and the national media blew up as far as the confrontation in mid court. What I take of it is that in college basketball it has to go both ways, either on the home team side or on the away side. But my thing is that Gino's conduct, I could understand. He stated after the game to one of the reporters on ESPN that his kids weren't getting the right calls. Okay, if they weren't getting the right calls, South Carolina dominated them in the second half, and it's UConn is 38-0, and you have South Carolina 35 and whatever. It was a great game. But that overshadows college basketball sometimes. But and as far as the UCLA Bruins, I saw UCLA at the Prudential Center against TCU. That's a strong program. We wish both teams well. going into the national championship
Who
on
wins it, Bill?
Sunday. I'm gonna take South Carolina because in that particular game last night, UConn turned over the ball a lot in the second half. They actually turned over the ball a lot. So the towels are out this morning on the Connecticut side. They have a great program. So going to the men's game tonight. First game, Illinois in Connecticut. That's gonna be a battle. That's gonna come up at 7 o'clock. I mean, that's 6 or 7 o'clock. I think UConn's going to take that, and also Arizona and Michigan tonight. That's going to be another battle. So we're going to have some good basketball going into the weekend. Also, today the Crown. I think it's the semifinals of the Crown.
Yep.
It's let me get my rights. It's Baylor and West Virginia. It's Creighton and some other team. It is what it is. It's college basketball time. Back to the NIL. We heard over our broadcast waves, Nick from Milburn show, that Simpkins and Hines are planning to join the NIL portal. We got to find out. We'll find out on Tuesday.
Yeah,
it's not even open, and people are speculating. It's only speculation, but these kids are going to the NIL portal. What I said on the show last night.
That was Eli's point. That's the point Eli made.
Yeah, I'm glad he made that point. What I said to Nick and his colleagues on the show last night. What I said, well, if these kids are going they're going to play college basketball for 4 years, and they committed for 4 years out of college, and if they skip out on their own, they want to leave. Well, you know what? Take their scholarship away. I mean, come on. I mean, it's controversial for me because the NIL has destroyed college basketball in many ways. It's like small colleges like NJIT, Seton Hall, FDU, Princeton. It's going to destroy
Niagara.
Say it again. I gotta put you in for that, Nick. I mean,
Jim.
Okay, but it's a great basketball season. But I thank you for having me on the show again,
No
Eli.
problem. Thank you, Bill.
All right,
no
man, happy
Pokemon cards.
holiday.
No Pokemon cards. No Pokemon.
No, not today. Not today. No.
Thank you, Bill.
I guess,
Always a pleasure to have.
You know what's funny? Talking about cards, I might go get me some South Carolina UCLA cards and see how much is worth. Huh?
Yeah, go compare that to the Pokemon cards. Let me know how that goes for you.
All right, have a good one, man.
All right, Bill. Thanks for joining us, pal. You too, buddy. Thank you. So, Eli.
Thank you, Bill.
So,
yeah, but what are your picks though for tonight? Let's
talk about the men's side because it is going to be obviously great. The whole tournament has been outstanding, and
of course it has.
Just what an amazing comeback for UConn to beat Duke, and nobody saw that coming. They had a 9-10 point lead for the majority of the game, and UConn only had one lead in the game, and that's when it was 2-0. So I feel bad for those Boozer brothers because they're really, really nice kids. And as a matter of fact, Cameron Boozer won AP Player of the Year yesterday, which is deservedly so. But what a heartbreak for John Shire and Duke, and
UConn played better basketball, but to me, the whole season, UConn just been a shock to me. I mean, Seton Hall, for example, had a chance to beat them twice. I mean, and this is the team that missed the March Madness tournament, opted out of the NIL, NIT, and the Crown and everything. I mean, it's just they lost badly to St. John's in the Big East tournament. Then all of a sudden, they play Duke, surprise the world, and all of a sudden, they have a shot to win a national championship from a season that did not have a lot of hope in the beginning.
Yep. And when we look at the matchups here, right? Illinois and Duke, and I'm going to make my picks
No, no,
right
it's
now because
UConn,
I feel
Illinois, and Arizona, Michigan. No Duke.
right. So
Yeah.
I'm going with Illinois because just like you said,
Oh,
UConn, they even lost to Georgetown near the end of the season as
yeah,
well,
they
which
did.
was so they can be had. I mean, obviously, Tarek Reed he's a monster inside, great basketball player. But Illinois is one of the more underrated teams, and I actually think they can win this game tonight um, against UConn. And I think,
Mm.
however, going forward, right, the big matchup, and as Bill brought up, I think the first game is 6:09, and then the next game
Yep.
is whatever
8:49. Yep.
anticipated 8:46, whatever.
Mhm.
But I think the national championship is going to be decided between Michigan and Arizona. They're both great
Mm.
basketball teams, and that could
If you had
be
to pick, who
it.
would you
So
pick?
I'm taking Michigan and Illinois in the final on Monday night, and like I
Who
said,
wins?
and Michigan wins the national championship.
See,
That's
for
my
me,
take.
I am just impressed by how UConn took care of Duke. And because of that, I think UConn wins. They take on Michigan, but UConn is the national champion. I know they had this
Wow.
crazy season. I know that seeing all the opportunity to beat them, but the way they've been surprising me in this tournament, especially last week versus Duke, you got to just say to yourself,
Hmm.
UConn's going to be that team that surprises everybody and somehow wins this whole thing after being, that one team that really had no shot, really. So I'm going to have to go with that one.
Well, and if you look, the head coach is a former player at your school, Seton Hall.
Yeah,
So
he
I
is.
I can see where you're pulling for that. But overall, this is when we talk about March Madness, and we've been talking about it for 2 weeks. It's one of the best sporting
It
events
really is, and it's one of the
there
hardest
is,
trophies
and
to win in sports. And I think, yes, and the
yeah,
NHL for sure for professional, but if you take out a professional in the equation, or if you include it, March Madness. You have what, 68 teams or
I
so, and
agree.
now you're fighting for one trophy, and you get all these random schools that you never even heard of. And they're not random schools, but like that you never heard of in the big college sport till March Madness. And it's like, hello, you're about to compete for a national championship.
Yeah, I mean, I'm more excited about this Michigan Arizona game because I think they're the two best teams in the country, and it would be great for that to be the final. But the way the brackets
Right.
worked out, so yeah, we made
Yeah,
our pick.
and one
So
last note
you're
for
going with
college
UConn,
basketball, Rick Pitino signs a new deal with St. John's through 2029-2030.
yeah.
So let's head now to talk about the Masters, and some golf talk. Well, the Masters.
Well,
Go
first
ahead.
of when we're talking about the Masters, first and foremost, I just wanted to bring up the tournament from last week, the Houston Open, and what a great story is Gary Woodland wins this tournament. And if you don't know the backstory, he's had some brain surgeries and things, and he's always been known as one of the nicest, most well-liked guys on the PGA
Yeah,
Tour. And from what he's been through, for him to win that tournament was just one of those feel-good stories in sports. And you know, I just give so much credit to that guy for what he's done. And the whole crowd was pulling for him. Does he have a legitimate shot at the Masters? No,
no,
I
I
don't
mean it's a
believe
tough
so.
tournament
I
to win
mean,
too.
but we're going to talk about the Masters because it does start Thursday. So it's exciting. And by the way, this is the first Masters since 1994 where there's no Tiger Woods and no
It's
Phil
huge,
Mickelson. How about
and
that?
the names that they were listing this week that were not participating, I couldn't believe it myself. I really was surprised.
And I'm going to give you some of my picks. And obviously, there is nobody who is familiar with the PGA Tour that you can't say Scotty Scheffler is the clear favorite. And you're going to have some of these guys. Do I think McIlroy can win his second Masters? No, I do not. But you'll have some of the same names at the top that you usually do with Bryson DeChambeau could be in the mix. but I'm gonna stay away from him. So I'm gonna put four names
Okay.
out there that I think have legitimate potential chances to win. And I'm gonna go obviously with
Of course.
Scheffler.
Yep.
That's no big surprise. Xander Schauffele. Um, he hasn't been playing great, but he does have a Masters now, and I like this kid Ludwig Oberg. He's a young kid, and he's got all the tools. So is this the stage for him? He's kind of one of my two long shots to win it. So I have him as well as Schauffele and Scheffler. I also have Victor Hovland. However, I'm gonna throw one name out there that will be on the leaderboard, at least in contention, because he's been playing great golf. Is Justin
Mm,
Rose, and he's one of the older guys on the PGA Tour. I think he might be
right.
45 or whatever, but he's playing such solid golf. But those are my four picks. Who do you like,
I'm gonna
Eli?
go with Rory McIlroy. You can't. You gotta choose him up in the top three. You gotta go Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau. Those are my top three. Those are the best three. One of those three guarantee will have a shot at winning this thing, and we'll be in the final too. Guarantee you on that one.
Yeah. But it is one of the greatest sporting events for
Of
me,
course, huge
because
sporting
I've
event.
been watching this since I was a little kid, and I saw Jack Nicklaus, in his prime, and I kind of he was Arnold Palmer was a little bit older
Yeah,
than him, so I didn't get a chance to see. I mean, I did watch and follow Arnold Palmer at the U.S. Open in Oakmont in
right.
1995, but this is such a beautiful place. And by the way the Masters does it, you know how Eli, we go to sporting events now and we're
$20
paying
for a bottle of
$8
water
for
and
a
hot
hot
dog. Yep,
dog.
it's like $2 and everything.
Yeah.
But like, I just want to say this: like, how are you dealing with $2 for this, $4 for that, with all this pricing inflation, $4 a gallon for gas and stuff? How? What do you mean? How? How do you do it? I mean, I want to know that. Like,
But they want it to be fan
I
friendly,
get
and
that, yes,
and
but
they're
with
not
every
taking
our gas is going up to
advantage.
$4 a gallon, yet we still find a way to at the Masters to make it $2 for a bottle of water and whatever sandwich or so. To me, I think it's
I think
awesome.
that's
I think it's
great.
great, but it's just like as somebody who both of us who don't go to the Masters, we're here in our homes here in New Jersey. We're paying like $6 for a bottle of water at like a 7-Eleven, for example. Millionaires are getting $2 for a bottle of water because they need that. Like, come
Yeah.
on, like. I mean,
No.
I think it is cool though. The prices are low and everything, and for no phones at the venue and stuff, that's pretty cool. But for an average American like us, though, seeing that you're kind of saying to yourself, do millionaires really need $2 a bottle of water? Is that really fair? Like, do we think about it? Like,
No, it's
uh,
for the fans. It's not for the millionaires. It's for the fans. It's
you got to be wealthy to be at the Masters, not exactly, for me and
I
you,
know.
for us middle
But
income.
and Eli, you're more the expert on this, and you know how all of the sports are now going to these streaming services, and
Yep.
I think the Masters, at least the first 2 days, may be covered by Prime, so
Well,
it's
yes.
a little
So
bit different.
for all 4 days, the first 2 to 3 hours of the event will be on streaming. So Thursday and Friday, that's on Prime Video, and for Friday, so for Thursday, Fridays on Prime Video, Saturday, Sunday, that is on Paramount Plus. Then for the
Yeah,
rest of the tournament, so from the 3 to 7 o'clock on the Thursday and Friday, that's on cable television on ESPN, and for Saturday, Sunday, that'll be on CBS. So for the last of the Masters, that'll be on TV. But for the first 2 to 3 hours, that's going to be on a streaming service, Prime Video, and
yeah,
also Paramount Plus on the weekend.
yeah. It's gotten to the game of golf now as well, right? We
It
talk
always
about
has
the
been, and it will
NFL
continue to be. It's going
and
to just continue
baseball.
to be like that, unfortunately. Streaming is just going to continue to dominate.
Right. So the Masters starts this coming Thursday, and all those guys are down in Augusta right now playing practice rounds. They'll be flying out there tomorrow, and they'll get a couple of rounds in. It is one of the most beautiful venues in sports, and I just can't wait to watch it. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Well, let's go ahead now transition to Major League Baseball, where baseball is heating up. The Yankees remain on top in the American League 6-1, while the Mets are The Mets are the Mets. Let's just
The
leave it at
Mets.
that.
It's the
It's the
Mets.
Mets, folks, standing at 4-4 on the season. Both these teams have games tonight. Marlins take on the Yankees 7 o'clock on Yes Network, and Mets Giants 9 o'clock on SNY. What do we
Yeah.
think about the MLB so far?
Well, so far, like I said, it's so early in the season. Like the Red Sox, I think could be a formidable challenge to the Yankees. But they started the season off like 1-5. But it's such a long season that these teams, the good teams, will eventually bounce back. But yeah, the surprise for the Yankees, and again, I watched this kid Cam Schlittler pitch, and I didn't everyone was getting a little bit of ahead of themselves, I thought, that because of his postseason performance last year, it looked like he had all the tools. Well, it looks like he's carried those tools into this season, and he could be, with Max Fried pitching the way he is, Schlittler, Cole will eventually come back probably in May. Rodon will be. So they have an absolutely excellent starting rotation. And I know before you go off on me about Aaron Judge, he started off very slowly, but he's a 300 hitter. He's going to end the season with a 315, 320 batting average. He's going to hit 50 home runs, and he's going to drive in 122 runs. And let's not get ahead of ourselves, Eli, with the postseason and the baseball
So
classic.
what, Jim? So what? Big time moments. What has he done? What has he done? Will he do it this year even? That is my point every year. I don't care what he does regular season. Congrats on setting these records. Congrats on trying to be the greatest. But are we the greatest of the postseason? Are we? That's my point. Okay,
Well,
next.
listen, if you want to start a baseball team, you're going to start it with either Otani or Judge.
I
One
will
of
take
the two.
Otani any day. Any day I'll take Otani. And I'll take anybody
Okay.
on the Los Angeles Dodgers team.
But being the second best player in Major League Baseball is no shame either. And don't worry about him. He will win a World Series
In the
with
regular
these Yankees.
season, sure, but in the postseason, no. That's what I'm looking at, a player that could dominate in the postseason run. Like I want to see a Kyle Schwarber. I want to see all these other guys in there.
Yeah,
You
well,
know,
that's fair. When we look also, so on the other side is the Mets, right? And the Mets had a great opening day, and they won last night. However, if I look at the Mets and they kind of cleaned house and brought some guys in, I don't see the Mets being the team that everybody got excited about after the first game, and then they go into 4 games in a row. They barely scored 2 runs in most of those games. I look at the lineup, and yeah, Bo Bichette's a good player, but is he worth that kind of a superstar contract that they gave him? And Luis Robert, are these improvements? I mean, outside of Nolan McLean, and yes, Soto will have his good year, but I look at the Mets, and this is what you're going to get, and they're going to go into a hot
yeah,
streak, of course. But overall, Major League Baseball in New York, it's going to be the Yankees are going to be up there, and I
of course.
just don't see the Mets having the tools to beat Philadelphia and
No,
possibly Atlanta. So
no. Bill
that's my
Hathaway
take.
says Judge is not a Mickey Mantle.
Mm. You guys are too hard on him. I don't
But
know, Bill.
Jim, though, look at this though. I don't care what he does in the regular season. I think Bill acknowledges this too. He's a phenomenal regular season player. One of the best, no question about it. Well, what happens in big time moments? What happens in the postseason? Who is Aaron Judge? That's the question I ask myself every time we get to October.
Yeah,
It's
that's
great that
fair.
we win every regular season, the Yankees, that we're always the best and up on the top. But what is this
I see
Yankees
your
team in the
point.
postseason run?
I see your point, but I'm keeping him. I'm not. I wouldn't give up on him
I
at
don't know though.
any.
I think we might. Well, as the season goes on and we get to postseason, let's see how the Yankees do. Maybe we'll have that conversation next year if the Yankees
Yeah.
don't win the World Series and stuff, or don't make a big run in the playoffs. What do we do about Aaron Judge? That'll be a conversation
Mhm.
for next time.
All right.
Transition off of baseball. Let's go to the NFL, and I'm going to have some
Hold
rapid
on.
fire. Go.
Hold on, just for 1 second. I just wanted to bring up a couple of little notes in Major League Baseball before we
Go ahead,
move
no
in. My
problem.
apologies. Elon.
No problem. You got it. You got it.
Right. So, couple of things. Baseball is exciting. So yesterday, the Pirates brought up Connor Griffin, right? The number one prospect, gets up, got a double in his first at bat, drove in a run. And this is again, you see what's happening. They're signing these kids young, right? So he's going to get. He just played his first major league game yesterday, and he's going to sign a 9-year, $140 million contract.
Yeah.
So they're locking these kids up quickly. So yeah, that's a guy to keep an eye on. And some of these guys, Decatur for St. Louis, or no, the Guardians. Look at this kid. He comes out of nowhere. He's got 5 home runs in the season. So these are kids that are going to establish themselves. But when you have the number one prospect, the kid's a teenager. He's not going to turn 20 until in a couple of weeks. So that's good news for baseball. And a couple other little signings. This kid Nico Horner for the Chicago Cubs. And I didn't, I saw the contract, 6 years, $140 million. I go, wait. But then I looked up his numbers because I don't watch the National League as much as I do the American League. So they're paying him that kind of money. And one other point I wanted to make, and I absolutely want your opinion on this, is this the ABS system, right? Automatic ball strike thing, the video replays and whatnot. Because I think it's good in an aspect when you have an umpire like CB Buckner, who may be the worst umpire in the history of the game. He missed 5 calls, and this isn't the first time for this guy. So to have that opportunity to show an umpire who's just really, I don't understand why the league even keeps this guy around. But when you miss 5 calls, think about before this system came into play, how many lousy calls this guy makes. It's amazing. So
I kind of like this whole automatic
I'm
ball
on the
system
fence.
thing. I really do. I mean, your challenge, it's a different perspective. Yes, it's the use of
Yeah,
AI. Yes, it's getting away with humans and everything. But in this type of sport, though, where mistakes can easily happen just because of how long the sport is and how small the little window is for calling a ball on a strike, you know,
yep,
I kind of like it though.
good stuff.
Yeah.
Okay,
All right.
take us to the
All right.
next.
So we're going to talk about the NFL and then we're going to go to some rapid fire stuff through the NBA and NHL. But first, we'll start off with the NFL. First, Jaguars. Trayvon Walker agrees to a 4-year, $110 million deal. Also announced this week, the Jaguars will play the 2027 season in Orlando at Camping World Stadium. This is due to construction taking place at the current Jacksonville Stadium. So next season, and it's not an April Fool's thing, they're actually playing in Orlando at Camping World Stadium next year. That's where
I
the
didn't hear
Pop-Tart
that.
Bowl is, and that's where they just played a couple soccer matches this week there. Yeah,
Oh,
so they'll be heading there this week.
interesting.
The big one from this week, however, Kirk Cousins signs a 5-year deal, $172 million with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yeah,
Whoa.
but there's a caveat there.
Okay,
He's
go ahead.
never going to see that kind of money. It's really only his 1 year,
He's geared.
$20 million, which is a lot. I'll give you that. Not starting quarterback money, but they're not really on the hook for this. He's not going to be there for 5 years.
Well, you never know, honestly, these days. And we'll see if Mendoza really does go to the Raiders or the Raiders do something dumb and maybe they think Kirk Cousins is the answer. I don't know. I hope that's not the case, but you never know with this league. But we'll see what happens. But this is still a massive deal, though. And I got to give him credit. He's still in this league. He's still making a ton of money, and his agent knows how to make negotiations. Let me tell you.
Yeah, I think he's made the 3rd most money of all NFL players
I believe
throughout
it.
his career,
Yeah.
behind
He has
Tom
played-
Brady and Matthew Stafford.
I believe it. I ain't arguing that one.
That's true.
Couple other notes. The NFL owners also approved this week a new change to the schedule, clarifying that any games played on Friday are no longer considered a short week. So sometimes they say, okay, it's a short week with the, based off the days off and stuff. They're saying, no more. It's a regular game and it's a regular day. The last note I want to bring up, the Super Bowl, where we will return to Las Vegas in 2029. So get ready to head to Vegas in 2029.
That's the venue now. That's the
It really
venue,
is.
and you're
It's a
gonna
real
you're
deal.
gonna have an NBA team there soon as well. So
Yeah. Speaking of the NBA, let's transition to them next. We go to the NBA where it's getting locked up and loaded in the playoffs. We talked about last week how the West is already set in terms of teams. Well, we confirmed a little bit more stuff this week. The Thunder, the Spurs, the Lakers, the Nuggets, and Rockets, they're all in. That's a done deal. In the play-in tournament will be the Trailblazers, the Clippers, and the Warriors. The Timberwolves and Suns, we're going to have to wait out to see where they end in the next couple weeks to see who ends in the sixth spot and guaranteed into the playoffs and who's into the play-in. Meanwhile, on the Eastern Conference side, the Knicks, the Celtics, the Pistons, the Cavaliers are heading to the playoffs. We'll see them very shortly soon. Meanwhile, the Hawks and the 76ers, they're standing by to see if they will be in a play-in spot or if they will guarantee in a regular playoff spot. The Raptors, Hornets, Magic, and Heat are all in it. The question is, will they lock in a play-in spot or will they lock in a playoff spot? We'll see that as we head in to the end of the season, which is next week, believe it or not.
yeah, and we talk about this. Luka Doncic pulls a hamstring, so he's out for the last 5 games of the season. But the Lakers weren't going to win it. From the West, it's obviously going to be OKC or San Antonio. And
the Lakers are still in it, though. They're in for the money. They're third place, though.
I understand that they're in it, but they're not at that level that they're going to win an NBA championship. And on the East, the Eastern Conference, now people, I'm not denying that the Knicks have a pretty formidable lineup, and it's an easier path for the Knicks than it is for the Lakers in the West. However, we've seen all season long, they can't match up against these powerhouse teams. They can't beat the Pistons. They can't beat the Thunder. And this is going to be a problem. And I told you this from the beginning of the season. When they hired Mike Brown and they don't win or at least get to the finals, they will do the same thing to him that they did to Thibodeau, and he will be a one-and-done coach for the Knicks.
But remember, they're cursed to begin with because they won. Remember this in-season tournament? Do you remember that a couple of weeks ago? That they did win that, so maybe they are cursed. We got to keep that in mind. So I wouldn't fire him just yet because he did technically win a trophy for New York, if we think about it.
Yeah, and there was one other cool little note from the NBA, and we'll move on in a second. But Cooper Flagg scored 51 points last night, so he's the youngest player to score 50 points from a rookie. He's the 9th rookie to score 50 or more points in as a teenager, if you will. He's going to be a great player. He really is going to be a great player. I mean, he kind of got overshadowed. He's probably going to lose Rookie of the Year to Con Kneppel, who's just lights out shooting. But the NBA has great talent. What I was thinking about, one other quick point I wanted to bring up, and it was almost going to be my monologue because we watched the Artemis 2 spaceship.
Yes, that's also my random point. Yep.
Right. And I actually was so interested in the way sports is materializing. Like they're paying guys that bring nothing to society, like Ja Morant, a guy making $40 million, maybe even more a year. And these astronauts that go to the space, to the moon, their salary is between $89,000 and $122,000.
Right, I get that, but
seems a little bit off.
Well, but remember though, in the NBA, you're playing basketball. It's just like a regular day job, whatever. You could argue that, but how many people could say to themselves, "I just went to the moon. I just went to fly in space. I got to float in space. I don't care how much money you're gonna get paid to do it. You got to go to space." How many people could say, "I went to space"? Not many.
I know. But my point is, think of how intelligent all of the people, not just the astronauts, but all of the people and the brain power to pull something like this off. I just found it completely so out of whack.
If you want to make a comparison to that, How about the rocket types? Look at the SpaceX rocket and how beautiful and great it is, like and all like
Yeah.
modern inside that SpaceX rocket. Then you look at this Artemis Orion rocket, and it looks like the 1980s. Like it really, like it does nothing compares to the SpaceX rocket. Like it just goes to show you the type of funding that we get for government versus a private charter like SpaceX.
I just think it was a great moment in space travel and stuff. So
Well,
I
we'll
just
talk more about that in the random points. I want to
okay.
go to Frankie's comment first. He said, "Flag is going to be generational. Him and Kyrie could be an unreal duo next year."
Hmm. I agree, Frankie. I do.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not a big Kyrie Irving fan like you are, but yeah, he's been out all year, so he's going to come back healthy. That's a team to be reckoned with going forward. I agree.
Let's go now to the NHL, where we got a couple notes to talk about. First off, the Carolina Hurricanes, Avalanche, Stars, and Wild are all into the playoffs. That was announced this week, so congrats to them. However, the next two teams in will be the Lightning and the Sabres, who are both at 100 points on the Eastern Conference side. The Montreal Canadiens sit at 98 points. They're going to be the next team in. Really competitive this year on the Eastern side.
Yeah.
We have the Blackhawks, Canucks, and of course the Rangers that are all out of the playoffs as of right now.
Yep.
Take a look at some big names, though, from the NHL and coaching. The Vegas Golden Knights have fired Bruce Cassidy and named John Tortorella their next head coach, effective immediately. Can you believe that
Coach.
move this week?
I mean, Tortorella, obviously coached the Rangers too, but he's coached about 8 other teams. He does have a Stanley Cup under his belt, but I don't know. Nobody seems to like to play for him. So for them to pull the trigger and fire Bruce Cassidy, that's a big move for the Vegas Golden Knights.
I mean, because if you look at the record right now, they have 34 wins on the season, but they're in 7th place because of the amount of points that they've received in overtime.
Yeah.
They had 84 points. That's what makes them, a contender technically in the playoffs, even though because of the whole point system. Anyways, Maple Leafs fired parted ways with GM Brad Trey Living and Jim Neal from the Stars. General manager signs a 2-year contract extension. That was announced.
Yeah, when we think about the Maple Leafs, and I mean, their season went down the drain when Austin Matthews got hurt. But and I know Eli, what was the best highlight of the week in the NHL? It had to be Markstrom versus the goalie fight. It was
the
great.
Goalie fight. The goal.
I love it.
It was the best part.
Loved it.
Awesome. It was awesome. It was great.
And by the way, decision Shesterkin.
Of course. All right. Well, let's go now to some random points sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. I'll kick it off.
Okay.
The Big Ten and SEC announced a volleyball challenge week coming Labor Day weekend, and this will be an outdoor volleyball game played at Wrigley Field. That will be all broadcasted through Fox Sports. It's an outdoor volleyball game happening at Wrigley Field. That's pretty cool. Heading to the soccer world, the group stages of the FIFA World Cup became set this week. However, one team not in it again for the 3rd straight time. Italy will not be in the FIFA World Cup. I am just shocked, like everybody else. Like they gave up on soccer. I guess that's not their thing. Baseball now is, I guess, with the World Baseball Classic. I don't know. And of course, we talked about this earlier. The NASA Artemis 2 rocket launch this week. That was pretty cool. Which 2 million people were watching on YouTube. Plus, every channel went to a special report to watch the historic moment. Great takeoff. And they said, watching the newscast and the broadcast stuff, everything was like an earthquake effect when that rocket launched. It hasn't been like that. It was pretty cool. And if you also I noticed this on the video too, on the tower where the astronauts board into the rocket, they have these slide water baskets, which is the emergency escape away from the tower in the event something were to happen. When the moment the rocket took off, the slide water baskets went down at the same time. They took off as if it was evacuating from the tower. That's how powerful that rocket was. It went off at the same time. I just want to also bring up the most dangerous part of the mission is coming up this week on Monday, because when they enter the moon and stuff, they will lose communication with the ground and the capsule for 30 to 50 minutes because of how far they are across the moon and the earth. So just be aware that they're going to lose communication for a good 30 to 50 minutes when they are passing the moon this upcoming week. So prayers up for them, and Godspeed Artemis 2. And
I love it.
me too.
He's
I love it
awesome.
too. I gotta get that Lego rocket now. I mean, did you see the Lego rocket? I don't know. All right. Last note. SNL is all new this week with Jack Black as your host and musical guest, Jack White. So enjoy that tonight.
Yeah, I'm a big Jack
Oh,
Black
he's
fan
awesome.
because I love the movies. School of Rock is so great, so underrated. All right, Eli, I got a few points. So we brought up before Connor Griffin and the Pirates signing that deal. The Seattle did the same thing with this kid Colt Emerson, gave him 95 million, and he hasn't played in Major League Baseball before. So these the money these young kids are getting, they're banking on it, and it kind of all started with Tatis and Bobby Witt Jr. and so forth. So baseball is not short on talent. That's for
Oh,
sure.
absolutely.
I saw, and this is my Hall of Fame criteria is very, very strict. So the Hall of Fame for basketball, Candace Parker, absolutely no problem with her at all. Elena Deladon, great story, but I don't know that she played. I don't know if she was healthy, she would have been one of the greatest WNBA players. I'm not so sure about her. But the two that I scratched my head, I mean, Amari Stoudemire to the Hall of Fame? Like, what am I missing? This is the same Hall of Fame that has Jerry West and Larry Bird and Magic Johnson and Will Chamberlain. I mean, come on. What did he really ever accomplish? Compiling stats and things. So that's a joke. And also, Doc Rivers in the Hall of Fame. I mean, there are some old. I mean, I don't know that. If I think about Doc Rivers, I mean, he had a long career, but when you look at, his profile of work, I mean, Hall of Fame. What's going on? I mean, we are really scratching the surface for trying to get people into the Hall of Fame.
We really
because, there are guys like Dennis Johnson or somebody, from the older days for the Boston Celtics who I don't think is in the Hall of Fame. But if Doc Rivers is going to the Hall of Fame, then guys like Dennis Johnson should be in the Hall of Fame as well. Yeah. Interesting thing. We talked a little bit about the NFL before, but the New York Jets and the statement that Aaron Glenn made. And if you are a New York Jets fan and you hear your head coach saying Geno Smith is going to take us to the promised land, what are you absolutely thinking about? That's impossible. Will not happen. And this is going to be the last season for Aaron Glenn in New York.
All
right. Interesting thing, though. I just want to bring up something regarding, Florida is filing lawsuits against this Rooney Rule, and we know what the Rooney Rule is. It's been in effect for probably 30 years, and its intent is great, to get more minorities in coaching and front office positions. And Roger Goodell came right out and said, we are not changing this one bit. And sometimes it's a little bit more ceremonial, interviewing guys that don't have a chance to get it. So there's a balance in there, but from a political perspective, we don't get into politics on our show. But it's an interesting thing that excuse me, Florida is looking at. And I have one other quick thing, Eli. And I know you didn't watch it, but Mel Allen used to host this show called This Week in Baseball, and it was kind of a recap of the games all week. And they're actually bringing that back. I don't know who's hosting it, but that was such a great
probably
show.
On like a streaming service like Peacock, right? I'm guessing.
I don't know, but when I was growing up, it was just a great recap of the previous week's baseball, and it was a great show, and that's coming back. And I wanted to give a shout out to one of my old work colleagues whose son, Roman Cartagian, just signed. He's an up and coming hockey player, signed a contract to play for the Connecticut Junior Rangers.
Wow.
So he's a future NFL player, like the Don Bosco, Drew Fortescue,
Congrats to him.
playing for the Rangers now. So I wish this kid all the luck in the world on his journey to the NHL.
Congrats, and that's awesome.
Seems like he's got a lot going. That's a pretty prestigious junior program.
Yeah.
So good luck to him.
All right, we do have a couple comments I want to get to real quick. Frankie says, my Devils have been on a roll, more wins than 4 of the 6 teams ahead of them. I've been telling Jim the point system needs to change. More wins should be more important than more overtime losses.
Yeah, I see what Frankie's point is, and we've talked about it, and you mentioned it a little bit earlier that you get 2 points for the win and you get 1 point for the regulation tie, and then you get 2 points if you win it in overtime. So I don't know what the right system, but when it comes down to the NHL, I mean, right now, if you look at Colorado, they have to be the clear-cut favorite to win the NHL Stanley Cup this year. And yeah, maybe they could take a look at the point system. I see excuse me, I see Frankie's point, but right now it doesn't look like that's going to change, my friend.
And Andrew says, good morning, guys. Agree on Doc Rivers.
Yeah. I mean, come on. Doc Rivers? I'd be kidding.
Well, now it's time for What's Your Recommendation in the Photo segment, sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code to learn more.
I got two little quick things.
Me too.
Because I do a lot of driving, right? So I listen to Pandora, but I'm hearing songs that I haven't heard in like 40 years. And I came across this one channel, and it was just like listening to some Bob Seger music. And if you look at his portfolio of work, he's got so many great songs. And I had an opportunity to see him in concert a few years back, but there was a song called The Fire Inside, which is one of just the great, hadn't heard it in God, probably 40 years. What a great song. So I enjoy this, going back in my older days and hearing music that I haven't heard in a long time, and that's cool.
All right.
And just a programming note, because one of my favorite shows, and I know Frankie's a big fan of this show as well, My Friends and Neighbors season 2 starts yesterday, actually.
All right. I know that's what Jim's watching this weekend. I know what Jim's watching.
Yeah, I'm going to watch.
Well,
I'll sneak that in between the NCAA games. Yeah.
Well, there's actually 2 of them. Well, first off, tonight for Easter on ABC at 7 o'clock is the 10 Commandments. Of course, that's always ABC's tradition. They always air it. So if you're bored watching the madness, the 10 Commandments is on ABC tonight. The other one I have, Dear Evan Hansen on Prime Video. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Dear Evan Hansen. It is such a good movie. And the song, You Will Be Found, gets me every single time. Take some time to watch it. Good movie.
Well, it was certainly a big hit on Broadway.
Yes, and the song always gets me every time. You'll be found, always.
So there's a movie version.
There's a movie version too on top of the Broadway, which the Broadway's gone, unfortunately. But
right?
Yeah, such a good song though.
Okay.
Here's some photos for the week.
And listen, this is a picture of some of my old colleagues at work, and we try to get together every now and then, but these are. When you work with people for a long time, and then you could keep that bond going. It was just a great opportunity to see Ed and Jim Smith, and I wish Jim all the best. He's having some health issues, but Jim, I'm pulling for you, buddy. I thought this was so funny. One of the best pictures, because when I used to do a blog, I used to come up with clever headlines, like always for the New York Post and the Daily News. I thought I thought it was great. It's a play on the movie Driving Miss Daisy with Morgan Freeman, if you didn't know, but that was brilliant creativeness. I loved it. And there's my grandson and my daughter Danielle. Eli, you must be happy they were at the Brooklyn Nets game against
I figured
Charlotte.
It was Brooklyn Nets because I saw the jet blue and it looked like Barclays Center. It's like there has to be Barclay.
It is.
Right. Figured that. Yeah. All right.
Great picture though. I love it. I love it. And here's one of my dear friend, and he was Steven's dear friend, and now him and I have become very close. But he's out in Peru this week.
All righty.
Hopefully he's watching the show. But Jeremy, have a great time out there.
Have a great trip. Enjoy.
Yep.
All righty. Well, we do have some notable passings to report. I will kick it off because I have 2 of them. Bill Riley has passed away at the age of 75. He was the third player of color to play in the NHL. He played 4 seasons with the Capitals before going to the Jets. He was born in 1950. Next up, former Vikings Joey Browner has passed away. He was born in 1960.
And let's go back and talk about that, because Joey Browner was a #1 draft pick for the Vikings out of USC. Had a great career. One of the, certainly in the Vikings Ring of Honor and so forth like that. And like I said, he was a #1 draft pick back in 1983, and just a hell of a football player. And to stay with the Minnesota Vikings, another big loss was linebacker Jeff Seaman, who was 75. And, back in the early 70s, when the Vikings had the Purple People Eaters, and they made 4 Super Bowls and lost all 4 Super Bowls, but he was an outstanding, underrated linebacker in the NFL. Never got any of the props that some other guys did. And my feelings on that, but he was just a beloved player of one of the greatest teams to never win a Super Bowl, for sure. He was 75. And Ken Clay was a pitcher. He was 71 years old. He was on the Yankees team in 1977 and 78, the Yankees back-to-back seasons where they won the World Series. And he was a decent pitcher. Passed away. And let me get this right. Suki Lahar. And Suki Lahar was a violinist, but she played with Bruce Springsteen on the Born to Run album and played with him in concert. Outstanding violinist, and she was 74 years old.
All right.
That's it.
Well, we had a really great show today. Happy Easter, happy Passover to all those who celebrate, whatever holiday you do this weekend. Enjoy the March Madness and the Final Four and the championship game tomorrow for the women's basketball. Enjoy the Masters. Enjoy the week, and enjoy the view. Enjoy everything.
And of course, please send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com and give us your thoughts and things. So just to recap, I got the final going to be Illinois and Michigan, with Michigan winning it. Eli has UConn and Michigan in the final, and UConn winning it, correct?
Yes, that is correct. And South Carolina wins tomorrow in the women's.
Yep. But it is Masters week, so enjoy, the Thursday and Friday, and we'll be back here next week to see where we
stay after Saturday and Sunday's Masters.
Yep.
Yeah.
We will.
Well, have a great day, everyone.
Thanks, everybody, for joining us.